It's so magical.
Hello, folks. How are we
Hello.
today?
Welcome to another Monday Night Live for RVing to Alaska. Oh, wow. I
Oh, I
can
had the
hear
monitor.
there.
I had the monitor on.
Oh, you know what? And my video,
Yeah.
yep, turn
No, I had the
off.
monitor on right here.
Okay.
So it's down now.
Technical issues. Well, welcome everyone. It looks
Hello,
like
folks.
we have a good crowd joining us tonight. We've
Yes.
got so far 30 people online.
That's a good number.
I'm going to let you know because I forgot to mention this last week. We are coming to you live via Starlink.
Thank you, Starlink. That's an amazing service that we have purchased and are really, really enjoying here in Alaska. It's just been an amazing service for us.
It has been working much better this year. You may see us blip out a little.
Just before we started the live, we were having a couple of problems. Like, oh no, come on now, get a
It's
good
like,
connection.
Starlink, come on, get a satellite over us.
Yes,
But
I think we're good now.
we're also connected direct to our internet connection. We're not going wireless, so hopefully the picture has improved.
We're trying to make this as best as we can
Right?
now. You know, I'm thinking we made some pretty good improvements over the last couple of years, so
Yes,
this is great.
going from just straight out of the laptop as
Yeah.
we were sitting in the
Yeah.
RV. Now we have a beautiful studio
Right.
and professional setup. So thank you for all you've done.
Hey,
He's my IT or tech
Let's
guy.
just thank RVing to Alaska for letting us do it because
Yes.
that's how this business is working.
We
now.
couldn't do it without you guys. Speaking of that, just let you know, the 2024 decals are available for purchase at our store, rvingtoalaska.com/store. Yesterday was the last day to buy a last chance 2023
And you had a
sticker.
surprising amount of requests for
Yeah,
that
we
23
did.
sticker,
We had a
so that
couple
was
of
pretty
dozen.
great.
So
Yeah.
I've already ordered those decals today. I should get them sometime next week. And as soon as I get them in my hot little hands, I will be shipping them out to you. Also, if you were one that bought a 23 and a 24, you will get both in one package. So yours is coming. It's just waiting for the 23s to show up.
That sounds like a great plan.
That's pretty much house cleaning today.
Okay.
Only one other mention is, which I forgot to mention last week.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
you are
every other
correct.
week.
This pairs really nicely with today, but we have a newsletter called the RV2AK Connection, and it only comes out every other month. But when you sign up for our newsletter, you are going to get our free route guide, and it's going to show the multiple routes that we've taken to come up to Alaska, all our stops where we got gas,
And this
etc.
is the more updated route guide.
It
This
is.
isn't the old one that we had several years ago.
That was
This-
just a spreadsheet.
right.
This one's a little prettier.
much more involved. It's a really great piece of information.
I mean, it's still it's basic information, but it gives you an idea how far distances and day drives and all that. So it ties in great today. Today's topic
Oh yeah.
is planning with or helping you plan with route options. And we're not only going to talk about by land.
There's some sea routes as well.
There are 2 sea routes.
Yeah.
We've never touched on one before, but since we've moved here, we've made a connection. So we have 2 now. So we have the eastern route, which is the
Eastern,
Alcan.
now we're back on the road, the Eastern Road.
Yeah, back on the road.
Yeah.
We're going to start there and then work our way out to sea.
Sure.
But the eastern route that most will famously know is the Alcan or the Alaska Highway. And if you have your Milepost magazine, you're going to see all the highway names and routes up in the top corner. Makes it really easy.
And they're normally by color on the tabs up there, so you should be able to flip to that specific route fairly easily.
In fact, I'm going to pop up onto the screen here routes so you can see what we're talking about here.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. All right. So our eastern route is basically, if you're coming up from Montana, a lot of people will cross at Sweetgrass or maybe even over in Portal in North Dakota, and they'll work their way up through Alberta and and go up to Edmonton and then work their way west. And this tends to be the flatter route. We did this route in 2021 when we moved here.
There's still some mountain passes you got to go through. You still got to cross the Rockies.
You still cross the Rockies on this route, but the southern Alberta is flatter versus going through southern BC. But you want to give some facts about the western route? So again, on screen, the eastern. I apologize. Is the red line, and I just really red and blue. There is a light blue that would be like coming up from West Glacier, or northern Idaho. That would put you up through Banff and then up through Jasper National Parks.
That's an amazing drive if you have a chance to go that route too. But now on the Alcan, we're talking about a couple little facts here. It is generally, especially from the Canadian border up to Dawson Creek, it's almost a 4-lane highway most of the way. I mean, it's a wider highway.
Through Calgary and Alberta, yes, but if you go up through the national parks, it is single lane.
And single lane and wider and windy a little bit. It's all paved. You'll have pavement all the way up. So don't have to worry about, we're not worrying about dirt roads or frost heaves yet. We're not there. The highest elevation you're going to cross is up at Summit Lake, and that's 4,250 feet. It doesn't seem very high, but you have to consider your latitude. You're getting further north now in the country, so you could have snow into late May, and then on your way back, you could have snow as late as, or as early as end of September and October.
Now, keep in mind, because I think we jumped ahead just slightly.
Okay.
Summit Lake is in northern BC.
Yes.
And the Alcan, or the Alaska Canadian Highway, it officially starts in Dawson Creek. That is mile 0. You're going to want to stop there and take your picture at the big famous Welcome to the Alaska Highway.
Nice big roundabout.
It is. And the Welcome Center there in Dawson Creek is right there at the sign. So it's a great pull off, huge parking lot, and go in, get your free maps from the visitor centers. But that's the official, like, getting halfway up to BC is an accomplishment in itself.
Right, and then you start at mile 0.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. So you got to travel, a couple of thousand miles to get to 0.
Now, if you start, like I was saying, with going through the national parks and crossing over in North Idaho or West Glacier, you're going to feed into Banff National Park. You're going to feed into Jasper. You're going to take the Icefields Parkway. Absolutely gorgeous driving. Don't be afraid of those routes. And then from Jasper, you're going to just jog over to Hinton, and you're going to take Highway 40 up to Grand Cache, to Grand Prairie.
You're going to want to keep in mind while you go through those Canadian provincial parks or national parks, there may be a fee. I believe going through the Icefields Parkway and into Jasper, there is a fee to pay, a toll, you should say maybe.
Correct. There is a slight small toll. I think it's $20 for a 24-hour period for your vehicle.
Absolutely worth it.
And it is.
Yes.
A lot of people are like, I know the first year we drove through, we never had a toll. That was something that was started after that season.
Correct.
But you're going to only have it at one end of the Icefields Parkway.
It's
on the Jasper side.
Yeah.
So you might get all the way through, and as you're exiting, they're going to stop you and ask for your $20.
But the sights that you see, it's worth $20. My gosh, that's a beautiful drive. Take your time, enjoy it, and there are some amazing stops along there too.
And again, just backtracking a little. Sorry, I'm looking at the map. If you come up through, like Gary was saying, 4-lane highway up through Calgary and Edmonton, it is still a beautiful drive. But you do have to navigate those big cities.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and going up through the parks is a little more. It's more mountainous and more beautiful and this and that. A little bit slower traveling, but the further eastern route through Calgary is prairie and cities,
Yeah. And
basically.
and it was still a very comfortable route. I
Oh,
mean,
it's easy. Yeah.
and the distances you could pull over at a they don't really have truck stops in Canada,
Not
but
too much.
big petrol stations and refuel and all that. So anyways, okay, so back over to the
we're working on
parks. We're going to work from the right side to the
All
left
right,
side.
all right. So we covered the Alcan, or well, we haven't even got the Alcan yet, officially.
Well, yeah, so we talked about the ice fields. We talked about going up through the prairies. So now we're in Dawson Creek.
Right.
And the Alcan was originally constructed back in World War II as a way to get troops, U.S. troops, into Alaska to protect the West Coast from invasion from Japan.
Japan, yeah, Japan.
And so the Alaska Highway, I believe this year in 2023, celebrated its 81st year.
A lot of changes have happened.
A
in
lot
81
of
years.
changes. Yes. But
Not like it
like
used to be.
Gary mentioned earlier, it's 1,400 miles in length. And we're talking from Dawson Creek to Delta Junction. It's where it officially terminates. And that's going to accumulate over three highways: BC 97, the Yukon #1, and Alaska #2.
Yep. Where are we going next?
Wildlife on that?
North of Dawson Creek, you're going to see everything.
Yes.
You're going to see, you'll see, well, in the springtime it's bears.
You'll see deer.
You'll see
You can see
deer.
elk.
Yep,
You
yep.
can see caribou.
It's amazing.
You
what
can see
see.
bison.
There is several miles of bison herds that kind of hang out alongside the road. It's pretty neat to see. So they're everywhere up there.
Also, sorry, looking at our notes and trying to flow. When you're heading north, once you get past pretty much Fort St. John, you kind of leave civilization.
Yes, it does definitely get more remote at that point.
Yep, you're gonna pop in and out of cellular
Well,
service.
you start hitting the mountains at that point. You're actually climbing over the Rockies.
Yes, at that point you are. You're also gonna lose your Sirius XM radio at about this point,
And it may not come back.
and it may not come back. That is correct. We did get in and out on top of the World Highway, but at that point you might want to what do you call it? Suspend your XM radio if you have it until you return. Madison, one of our moderators, he just said there are several parks on the Alcan once you get past Fort Nelson, which
Yes,
is true.
that's
Provincial
You're getting into
parks.
provincial parks and much more open country area where that would be necessary.
So as Gary, I believe, mentioned also, it's 100% paved unless they're having construction zones. Major towns and small communities along the Alcan. A lot of people prefer this route because there are more communities. There's more gas available. But gasoline fuel shouldn't be something that scares you, because as long as you always try to keep your tank at a half tank or higher, you should never have an issue.
On the Alcan, you'll be just fine.
But we're going to start from Dawson Creek and go north to give you an idea of what you have. And if you follow along on the map that we have up here, you'll kind of get an idea as we go between towns. You're going to hear things that aren't on this map. So starting at Dawson Creek, your next stop you have available is Fort St. John. Again, last really big town until you're into Whitehorse. Then there's a roadhouse in Pink Mountain. You get into Fort Nelson, which is another good sized town. From there, if you want to get Northwest Territories on your map of traveled places, but don't want to go all the way to TOTE,
Right.
you can just go, I think it's about 100-mile side trip up to Fort Layard.
And that is different than Layard Hot Springs. Fort Layard is a whole different community.
It's before it.
In Northwest Territories.
It's a First
Nations, and it's a pretty neat little area.
It is. And there's a nice little lake that you can boondock at, their city park or town park.
And more opportunity to see bison alongside the road, and black bear and brown bear too.
Coming back down to the Alcan and working your way west, you're going to come to another famous roadhouse, Toad River. I did miss, there's a really great cinnamon roll opportunity at Testa River
Crossing.
Lodge.
Lodge, yeah, at the river crossing.
Really good cinnamon buns. Muncho Lake Provincial Park is another must stop. It's beautiful. The only problem I have with Muncho Lake Provincial Park is it is too close. We're talking like 30 miles
Oh yeah,
from Laird Hot Springs.
Everybody wants to stop at Laird Hot Springs because it's beautiful natural hot springs. So
Absolutely.
that's where you want to go.
From Laird Hot Springs, then Watson Lake is your next larger sized town where you can reprovision, stop at the bank if you need to. Just so you know, though, there's no cellular service between Fort Nelson and Watson Lake, and that's a stretch of 318 miles.
Quite a ways. And then north of Watson Lake is where you start to get into Yukon territory. And actually you cross Yukon, BC provincial lines a couple of times before you really dive into Yukon.
Yes, from Watson Lake to Teslin, you're in and out of BC and the Yukon. So Teslin's the next little town. Then you're going to get into Whitehorse, big city,
Big city.
Comparatively.
It's the capital of Yukon.
It is, yes.
The epicenter of Yukon, I guess you could say.
And then from Whitehorse is a great side trip down to Carcross and Skagway.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
Take the time,
scenery.
stay a couple days in Whitehorse, and to drive down to Skagway is an easy day trip.
Well,
And
down and back in a day.
yes,
Yeah,
easily.
easy.
Unless, say, you want to take the ferry over to Haines.
Well, but there are also a couple of RV parks in Skagway.
There
And
are.
If you wanted to take your RV down there and stay down there a couple days.
And a couple
Right.
of Alaska State Park
Yes,
sites.
yep.
So
there's options there from Whitehorse to Skagway. You could go down there, stay a couple days, or take the ferry to Haines and Haines to wherever from there.
absolutely. You know, Haines is a place that Gary and I have not been to, but I know it's somewhere we need to go to.
Absolutely.
Because everyone tells us it's absolutely beautiful drive. I mean, I know the drive down to Skagway is absolutely stunning, and we've heard the drive to Haines is
even more beautiful.
just as spectacular.
Yeah.
So when you leave Whitehorse and do your side trips, then you have a choice,
You have a big decision to make at this point.
big decision. And I'm wondering if we should go to the Cassiar and then come back, because
Right, because Cassiar comes in at Whitehorse, or I
Yeah.
mean, at Watson Lake. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's jump over to Cassiar.
okay, let's.
Yep.
So now, if you're looking at our map, we let's start with southern BC, and
Well, is the Cassiar the middle or the
it's the orange,
route?
orange and purple. And the only I have a little purple down there because if you come up through central Washington at Osoyos, that's going to take you up through Kamloops.
Radium Hot Springs and Kamloops, is that right?
Not Radium. You're that is Radium is over off of North Idaho.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's right.
That's going to put you through wine country of BC in the Okanagan Valley.
Right. And that's oh my gosh, the valley is beautiful. It's if you are a wine connoisseur, there are wineries everywhere. Just like Central Washington up in BC, it's the same valley, huge, big, vast valley, and there's wineries everywhere. There's Airbnbs and there's what's the other yeah. Everywhere, not Airbnbs. Boondockers welcome is what I'm trying to say.
There you go.
Everywhere. So,
Also,
enjoy that.
if you come up through the I-5 corridor in Sumas, this is going to tie back in up at Cache Creek, I believe, into highway. And I'm sorry, I got to look at my notes. BC 16. And that's going to put you up through Quesnel up to Prince George. From Prince George, if you're coming the western route, you can, from Prince George, jump and go over to Dawson Creek and do the Alcan. So even if you're coming from the west side, you still have an easy choice to get over onto that Alcan route if you want, or you can do the Cassiar. The Cassiar has a lot of people are afraid of it, and I don't know why, especially on the northbound. It is my favorite way to go
Well,
north.
I think people are afraid of it because it is not quite as a developed roadway system. It is, I would say, mostly all paved. There's probably a few
No.
pavement breaks still,
It's pavement breaks are from construction
construction
zones.
zones and such. But it is a smaller provincial highway, so it's maybe a little bit narrower in places.
They don't have the wide shoulders
It's-
like the Alcan.
Right, it's a bit more remote. There's a bit further distance between some fuel stops.
It is so I do have fuel information here. It is 100 miles more than the Alcan. It is also, believe it or not, the lower and flatter route.
Which is
Up.
crazy because it seems like you're in the mountains all the way.
Yeah, like
You're looking at the mountains as you're heading north.
it's not much. It's about 200 feet less than the Alcan route, but it does get that distinction as a lower.
Yeah.
It is, like we said, no lane, 2-lane highway with no, little to no shoulders. So the Alcan has these huge, shoulders, pretty much so you can see the wildlife before they jump out.
And it's mowed down like 100 feet on the shoulder.
On each side.
So it's just super wide, beautiful area. Now the Cassiar, you're going to get a shoulder of the highway and then maybe 10 or 15 feet.
Maybe.
Maybe. But hey, don't let that discourage you because it is a beautiful drive. And you're going to want to take your time and see the scenery, and the wildlife is very abundant there as well.
Lots of bears. If you want to see bears, the Cassiar, I mean, they were plentiful. We saw definitely more bears on the Cassiar than the Alcan.
By far.
By far. There's also, just so you know, there's no cellular service between Kittawanga, which is the start of the Cassiar, which is BC 37, up to Watson Lake. However, in the middle is Stewart, BC, at Meziadin Junction. You can scoot over, I think it's like 40 miles to the west, and jump into Stewart and get cellular signal along that route if you
Well,
need.
and if you're going to do that, you might as well jump from Stewart and go to Hyder, Alaska, and get your first little
Taste of
taste
Alaska.
on your way to Alaska.
It's a ghost town, and it's a
is.
lot of fun. We'll
Yep.
talk about Hyder, and we'll talk about Stewart more when we talk about Canada next month. But
keep that in the back of your mind, or write that little note down that Stewart and Hyder is a great side trip.
and Madison, I'm gonna just pop up his comment. So he did say, prior to 2018, the Cassiar was not paved, but that's not true anymore. Many folks still think that it's not paved. I know in 17,
17 we came down the
the
Cassiar.
northern part wasn't paved, but
Most of it was paved, but only a few places weren't paved.
Madison also has a great point. He says you can see glaciers if you go to Stewart. Yes, the the
there's
Bear
some-
Glacier is there,
And the Salmon Glacier's out of Hyder.
and the Salmon and Hyder. So
Amazing-
great
amazing
points.
place. Great side trips.
So if you take the Cassiar up, again, you make that decision in Prince George. And from there, you're going to,
Well, that decision should be made probably in the next couple of months.
well, that's true. But I'm just saying, when you get to Prince George, you're either going to go north or you're going to take a left and head towards the Cassiar. Sorry if that made a noise.
Yeah.
So there's many communities along Highway 16, which is from Prince George to Smithers. We've stayed at a few of them, and it's gorgeous country up there. Smithers, though, is your last major services for groceries or affordable fuel.
And any mechanical needs on your truck or RV.
Yes, we have visited the Napa and Smithers.
Yes, and purchase the necessary serpentine belt for the truck.
Yep. So once you get, that wasn't in Smithers.
That wasn't Smithers.
Oh, yes.
It
yes,
wasn't
yes,
Smithers.
yes, yes. So once you hit the Cassiar, again, that's in Kitawanga. That's quite the name. You're going to head on up, and some of the communities on the actual Cassiar, which is Highway 16, is going to be Meziaden Junction. Again, that's where you would turn to go to Stewart and Hyder. There's Bell 2 Lodge, Tagoda Lake Resort, Iscut. Dease Lake is your next kind of major store with groceries
And fuel and
year
services
round.
and a cafe of some sort there, and there's services. In
There's
Dease Lake.
services.
Yes.
And that is also another great little side trip. Do not take your RV on this side trip.
No. That's
Only a tow vehicle.
tow vehicle.
But Telegraph
Well, and
Creek.
preferably a truck, not necessarily any kind of car.
I mean, a car would make it. It is all dirt road.
Dirt road and some steep
But
grades.
Telegraph Creek was a really neat community. I know on our YouTube playlist from 19, we did get that far and we did a video on that. So if you'd like to see it, in our 19 season, we're still in Whitehorse.
Oh yeah,
we never made it to
Alaska. Barely made it out of Boyle Lake. Anyway.
But yeah. And then past Dease Lake, we have Good Hope Lake, and then Dease to Watson Lake.
And Jade City, it's kind of a cool little,
I looked
10 or
down.
15 minute stop.
Yep, Jade City
Yeah.
is a stop.
Yep.
Free boondocking overnight in their
they had
parking
free
lot.
Wi-Fi too.
Yes.
They had free Wi-Fi in Jade City. So
And then Boya Lake Provincial Park is
that is
absolute.
almost a must stop. I would say that's a must
Yeah,
stop.
the water is so
It
blue
is
and
beautiful
pretty.
and clear. Get a kayak out there, go paddle, go play. It's beautiful.
Madison said there's a Walmart as you leave Prince George. There's a Walmart and a Costco in
Yes.
Prince George. I believe that's the last Costco stop until you're
Whitehorse.
in Alaska.
Oh, Alaska.
Alaska.
Oh, yeah,
There's a Walmart
Walmart. That's
in
what I was
Whitehorse.
thinking. Oh, a Canadian Tire. in Whitehorse.
Canadian Tire is a kind of like a Fred Meyer's.
It is. They say Canadian Tire.
When I
but
say
there's
Fred
a-
Meyer's,
there's-
it's but without the
lot more.
groceries, but all the, or maybe like Sears back in the day, the soft side and the hard side of Sears,
maybe so.
kind of.
I guess
Yeah.
there's a lot
Anyways.
of stuff. Check out your Canadian Tires when you see them. It's a good store.
Any other points to say about the Cassiar? So the Cassiar is going to put you into Watson Lake, and then let's
Right.
just jump where we left with the eastern
So
side.
now
We're in Whitehorse.
we're in Whitehorse now. So both these, the Cassiar, which will be the west route, and now the east route, both combine right about Watson Lake.
Just past Watson
And
Lake.
then we go from Watson Lake. The next stop is Whitehorse.
Now, here's a tip for you, too. If you come up the Cassiar, once you get to the Alaska Highway,
Good point.
take a right and go 13 miles back to Watson Lake and fuel up. There is a gas station right at that junction, but they are out to get your money. And
Yes.
I don't, it's just fact. They are way overpriced, and you will want to fill up in Watson Lake.
So that little 13-mile backtrack to Watson Lake, you have all the services in Watson Lake too. There's grocery, automotive repair, fuel, and whatever you may need is in Watson Lake.
Yeah,
So
very
you've got,
well worth it.
13-mile backtrack almost.
By the way, I am seeing you folks leave comments down below, and feel free to drop your comments, and we're going to come back and answer your questions after we get through our bullet points here, and then we'll bring up your question online and discuss exactly what you would like to know from us. Okay, so we've gotten to Whitehorse. We talked about a day trip down to Skagway and Carcross.
Yep.
Carcross is a great little village to visit as well. In fact, that is where we decided to RV. We took a cruise ship tour to Carcross
From Skagway.
from Skagway, and that is what made us decide we need to RV to Alaska.
Right. See
and
the beauty of the interior of
That drive and even Carcross. It's gorgeous. There's a little tiny desert. There's great little shops to support there. It's got a nice river running through it. It's just, and so much history with the Klondike Gold Rush.
So I'm just looking at our notes here. We don't have much notes for the north of Whitehorse route.
Well,
And that's all a lot. Now we're officially on the Alcan or.
we're on the Alcan at that point, and maybe if we go back a page, did I put it?
I don't think you put it in there.
No,
You did.
but I do have, we know.
Yeah.
So from there, you have a choice. You can do Top of the World, and you would just outside of Whitehorse turn north on
Dawson City.
the North Klondike Highway and go up to Dawson City, which Dawson City is such a fun little town. It did take us 2 days of travel to get up there. We stopped at the halfway point at Pelly Crossing,
Which is a free
another
campground
free campground.
on the Pelly
It's a
River.
First Nation. We did have some issues there this year where a local was trying to charge
Right.
people to use their First Nation campground. But I made a phone call to the chief, and he verified to me that it was free. Now, in the
Well, he
future,
also verified that he knew that there was a certain resident that was charging people incorrectly.
yeah, so I will be keeping an eye on that next year. There is a slight chance they may start charging a fee, but I do know all the way up until this year, it was absolutely free. And if you are being asked, especially approached by someone, just ask on the page, and I know a phone number to call.
You're right. Well, that's the amazing thing about this group is we do that. We do reach out to the folks that would know, and we try to pass that information.
We
to
are
you.
getting word that people can't hear you.
Well, I'm not close to the mic as I probably should be.
Is that better for Gary?
I can turn myself up a little bit. So
All right. Thank you for
we'll
that.
do that.
Side note.
I don't like to have the mic in my face like that, but maybe I have to.
Anyways, again, Top of the World is absolutely gorgeous.
It is.
Plan to spend some time in Dawson, and
Well, and now with Top of the World requires the poker or the different crossing, and then there's limited. They open.
It's
later.
seasonal.
It's seasonal, yes.
So when you're in Dawson, you do have to cross the Yukon River on a ferry, and that ferry runs based on if the river has broken up or not.
Correct.
And so we never really know an official start date as when the ferry will start. But the last couple of years, the Top of the World border crossing has been a June 1st start date.
Right.
That may change every year. It's a little different, but the last 2 years it has been June 1st. And wait, were they open last in 22? Yes.
Yes, he opened in 22 and 20.
No, not in 21. They didn't open it at all in 21.
No, 22 and 23.
Yeah. So June 1st. So plan, if you are going to do Top of the World, don't even try to plan your crossing until that date, just to be safe. Again, that is something we are going to watch out for you and report to you when we have hard dates from the Border Patrol.
And this route takes you from Dawson City, and it's called Top of the World because it takes you along ridges in the mountains above the valleys. It's kind of a different experience when you're driving through the area where you're up on these ridges looking down into the valleys. And with being up on the ridges, you're exposed to more weather, including
windy.
snow, rain, wind, whatever it may be. And early season, the snow doesn't melt very quickly. So, June 1st, the river may be broken open and ready to cross, but there may still, the road will be plowed, but there'll be drifts alongside the road.
The road is
quite
maintained
frequently.
very
It's
well.
maintained well, but you'll still have quite a bit of snow up there on the edges of the road.
And you will see that Canada takes care of their roads better than Alaska.
That is true.
Yeah, it's hard to admit, but it is true. Anyways, so
Thank you, Canada. We
yes,
appreciate it.
we love it, and we love the Top of the World. So now we're going to jump back down to Whitehorse, and stay on the Alcan because you have those two choices. So remember, we turned in Whitehorse, went north. Well,
the
now
Klondike.
we're going to stay on the Alaska Highway and work our way towards the Beaver Creek crossing and the Port of Alcan crossing, which is what the U.S. side calls it. When you leave Whitehorse, that's when you're going to start feeling the frost heaves.
Oh, and on the Klondike Highway too. You're gonna see
Yes.
when you're heading to Dawson City. You're gonna experience the frost heaves and the road conditions change.
Yes. And by the time you hit Haynes Junction, you can either go straight and head down to Haynes, Alaska, or you're going to take a right and you're going to be headed up towards Destruction Bay, Kalani Lake, and eventually the border. Again, you're leaving civilization. There's not much between Whitehorse and TOTE, Alaska.
Not much at all.
There's one or two fuel stations as you work your way up, and the road, as you will see, and if you watched last year and when you watch this spring, everyone is going to complain about the road from that point north.
Well, it's not the road. It is actually the frost heaves causing the problems.
Well, it's still the road.
The road goes, yeah, the road does go to, the proper word would be, yeah, but I can't say that. But yeah, the road's difficult because of the frost heaves, and we're getting more into an Arctic climate. And they maintain the road the best that they possibly can through the travel season.
We're fighting Mother Nature.
Yes.
There's really, it's just where you learn to slow down and enjoy the journey.
And that happens to be in the area of a little community called Destruction Bay. They don't refer it as Destruction Bay because it's going to destroy your rig on the road. It has to do with the lake, Kalani Lake, that's right there. So it's just Destruction Bay is a part of the roadway where the road goes bad because of the frost heaves.
Very much.
So, slow your roll. And you will learn to read the road pretty well. You'll learn to see the signs of frost heaves as you approach them and how to slow down and navigate them.
Yeah, and Canada does a really great job of marking where a major frost heave is, or maybe a crack in the roadway.
Yep.
Alaska, again, not so much. Thank you, Canada.
Thank you.
But yeah, so those are our two land routes, major land routes that you can take coming up to Alaska or southbound back to the lower 48.
And, with those two land routes, you're going to travel north on one, and I would suggest you travel south on the other.
Absolutely.
To experience a difference.
Same thing with top of the world.
Right.
Come in that way and exit out the other, or vice versa. That way you are seeing everything and not repeating as much.
Correct.
So our third route that we would like to talk to you today is the Alaska Marine Highway. The last couple of years have, well, not the last couple of years, but this past year
has been difficult.
Due to labor shortages. There have been no routes all the way to South Central Alaska, meaning Whittier from Bellingham.
Right. Well, yes, I guess that's what you said.
So
yes.
What you can see on our map, I noticed we're still at the map here. The dotted line that you can see going along the coastline, that is the Alaska Marine Highway, or the Alaska Ferry System. It leaves out of Bellingham, Washington, and connects you to Southeast Alaska as well as South Central Alaska. Now, when I say Southeast, it will get you to Ketchikan, to Juneau, and to Haines. Those are the three main ports. From there, you can take day ferries to smaller ports or communities within Southeast Alaska. This past year, in 2023, there was no ferries that went beyond Haines. So anyone up here in Southeast or in South Central, there was no way to ferry south or north out of Whittier.
Right.
basically the Gulf of Alaska was cut off this year, which has kind of been a hardship on a lot of people because not everybody can drive through Canada or enter the country of Canada. So it's very important to have this available. I did look though today in my research, and the ferry system does show one Gulf crossing at the very end of April. So this is
But that's not the summer season yet. That's
No.
still early season. schedule.
so summer season bookings will open sometime in the winter. They have been as early as December and as late as February. Right now, though, as I said, I did see, and you can get up to Southeast all winter long on certain sailing dates. But on April 24th of 2024, that is the first day I could find a sailing going from Juneau to Whittier. So that's good news.
But that's very early to be in Alaska.
Well, we did it April 20th.
For a reason.
Yes.
Not traveling. We were
Not
moving.
traveling, yes.
But as traveling and being up in Alaska in April 24th is fairly early.
So I did some price quotes. Now, again, this is on only that April 24th sailing because
We can't book any further advance right now.
they're not booking summer travel.
Yeah,
So
they haven't
but
released that season
it
yet.
will give you a good idea of pricing of what you could expect if you want to take the ferry. Now, in the past, the ferry has done dynamic pricing, which means as availability decreases, the published fares will increase. They did do away with that in 2023, but there's no guarantee that that will stay away. It could come back, especially if they get back into normal operations. So that's something we will be watching. But again, I did do some quoting just for your information. If you're going to ferry from Bellingham up to Whittier, it's 5.5 days on the boat. And again, you bypass Canada completely. If you only take the ferry up to Haines from Bellingham, it's a 3.5 day journey. However, if you just go to Haines, you are still required to enter Canada in the Yukon.
Is there a ferry service from Haines to Whittier?
No. Well, yes. April 24th. Oh, Haines to
they
Whittier.
bypass Haines
No,
to
no,
Whittier.
no. There's not.
There's not.
You
Okay.
have to go to Juneau.
To get to Whittier, you have to go to Juneau.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Because
it's-
that's a different day ferry that goes
Okay.
from Haines to Juneau.
So when you take the ferry into Haines, then you are required to drive from Haines through Yukon
To go to Alaska.
To Alaska.
Yeah.
So you have to go into
So
Canada still.
if there's a reason why you can't enter Canada, just going to Haines is not going to help you. Like this year, that was the only way people could get to Alaska. And if you can't enter Canada, then you're going to be stuck in Haines.
But we still have an alternative for you.
We do. So also this year, ever since COVID, there's been actually prior to COVID, there's been no service from Prince Rupert. That could change, and we will keep track of that and let you know. I know a lot of people would love to RV up to Prince Rupert and then jump on the ferry, or vice versa, come down and then get off and then hit the land routes. At this time, there's no Prince Rupert, but if that changes, again, we'll let you know. So for today's price comparisons, everyone's different. So I just chose what the online system would allow me at a 30-foot motorhome. If you have something longer than a 30-foot, you need to call and talk to customer service, and they'll quote you on the phone.
Well, and these quotes are based on by foot.
Yes,
correct?
everything is by
so
foot.
This is just an average summary of a RV 30-foot long.
I picked a 30-foot motorhome. Maximum height allowance on any ferry is
Correct.
13.6, which is typical standard for roadways.
And now this is just the RV, not a
Tow
vehicle or a towed vehicle.
Correct. Or maybe or maybe you have a short
A combined length of total. 30
combined
feet.
length of 30
you
feet.
go.
Yes. So if you're going just from Bellingham to Haynes, it's 3,000. Oh, wait a minute. I got to step back because sounds good. You have, when you take a ferry, not only do you pay for your car to go on the ferry, but you also pay for yourself as passengers to go on the ferry. And then you either camp for free on deck. You're not allowed to stay in your RV, or you rent or purchase a stateroom, and they have several different types of staterooms. In fact, I just remembered, I'm going to throw this up here. Add to stage. So this is when we rode the ferry in 21. We were coming up with just our vehicle, moving our firearms, bypassing Canada with our firearms. And this was the Kennecott, which I saw when I quoted today. The Kennecott, I believe, is going to be sailing again next year. But this is us in Bellingham about to get on the ferry. And this picture here, this is the inside of the hold. You can see there's a large boat there to the left. So a fifth wheel will get in here. It is tight, but basically you just got to get parked and then get out of there. You are allowed to come back down on the car deck and potty any animals that may be traveling with you. They cannot be topside on the passenger decks. They have to stay in your vehicle or in kennels in the cargo area or the car hold area. But you get to go down every several hours and relieve them and be with them, change their food and water, etc. But lots of room down there. It is a little noisy, and the lights, I believe, stay on all the time. So it's not horrible. We did meet some people that traveled with their pets, and the first day the pets were a little freaked out, but then they kind of settled in. This was our stateroom. This is a 4-berth stateroom. As you can see, we had a bathroom with sink and mirror. And then we had 4 beds. This couch converted into a bed as well as a bunk above the couch. And then we had 2 standard bunks on the other side. We left it in this configuration where I slept on the couch. It converted to a bed. And then Gary slept on the other lower bunk. And then we used our luggage and we brought extra food and such on the top bunk. They also have 2-berth rooms that are just 2 bunk beds, and you have to go down the hall to use the facilities. Then next picture, you're on the boat for 3 to 5 days depending where you're going. They have a full cafeteria. You can bring your own food on board, and you just kind of watch everything go by.
Sit back and relax. Sorry, I had a dog issue. The dog wanted in.
Oh,
Sophie was barking at Spirit. Spirit was scratching at the door to come in.
never fails. And this was our Gulf crossing.
It wasn't a beautiful day.
We have a video, a whole playlist of our ferry ride up to give you more information. And then here, this was when we were coming into Whittier at 6 a.m. as we were coming in. But getting back to the pricing. So again, you're paying for your vehicle, the passengers, and if you choose a stateroom. You can camp for free and eliminate some of this cost.
But the camping is only in a tent aboard the ship, not in your RV.
Correct. Yes, I already discussed that.
Sorry,
Or you don't have a tent and you just they have a lounge area and you can sleep in kind of a lounging chair. But you have lots of other people around you and can't guarantee someone's not snoring.
That was the first thing that came to my mind.
Okay, so pricing.
Yep.
If you were going to go to Haynes from Bellingham, and again, this is an example pricing for a 30-foot motorhome for 2 people who have chosen to get a 4-berth cabin like we did with your own bathroom and it's an inside cabin, meaning there's no window looking outside.
What, we had a window.
We had a window,
Was
but
that different pricing? On
it's
schedule for
different
okay.
pricing if
Okay.
you want an inside cabin
Oh, there, I
versus
see
an
it there.
outside
Yes,
cabin.
it is.
So this price, I went with the little less, but it is total price $5,060. That's just to Haynes. If you want to go all the way to Whittier, it's $6,356. Same thing, 30-foot motorhome, 2 passengers, and a 4-berth cabin with a toilet on the inside.
Right.
The difference between an inside and outside for that cabin, it's significant. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's a huge chunk of. So I'm gonna quickly price these out separately. For the RV only to Haynes is $3,429. To Whittier, it's $3,945. So it's only about $500 more for the RV to get all the way from up to Whittier versus Haynes. Passenger pricing for adults, that's 12 to 64. To Haynes, it's $497 per person. To Whittier, it's $745 per person. There are senior discounts if you're 65 and older, and there are child discounts. 6 to 11 is discounted about, looks like 50%.
Yeah, about half price.
And 0 to 5 are free. And the differences in staterooms. This is where the cost
Right.
is
Quite a
hugely
bit
different. An inside room to Haynes is $637 versus $921 to Whittier, versus an outside cabin is $855 to Haynes or $1,242 to Whittier.
Yeah, there's a significant difference.
So that can it can add up.
Yep. Yep.
But it is a quick way to Alaska with your vehicle all together, especially if you have pets. And
Well, and it's an opportunity to see coastal Alaska.
yes,
In places.
yeah, you have a little time in port in Ketchikan and Juneau and Yakutat as you make
And
your
we're talking
way
we're talking
north.
a handful of hours.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
If that, but
Yeah.
you can get off the ship, stretch your legs, maybe
Yep.
quick run to the grocery store, or we've known people
Uber Eats or whatever it may
they
be.
do a dash order
DoorDash.
to the ferry.
Yeah. So I mean, it is a beautiful run along the inside passage of British Columbia and Alaska, Southeast Alaska. So it's beautiful. And if you want to see what the coast looks like, there you go.
Another opportunity to ferry around Alaska you can do between Valdez and Whittier and just do Prince William Sound. That's a day trip. It's 6 hours in all. Again, going on a 30-foot motorhome, it's around $300. That Prince William Sound. If you want to go between Haynes and Skagway, that one, the motorhome's $143.
And that's only like a 2-hour cruise or something like
It's
that.
1 hour.
1 hour. That's a short trip.
Skagway to Haynes is 1 hour.
Yep.
Passenger pricing for adults $32 a person. So you're looking roughly right around $200 for RV and people. Whittier to Valdez, that's a 6-hour cruise.
And that's a really fun cruise.
It's gorgeous.
We did that. It's beautiful. We were blessed with another beautiful day, and the seas were amazing, and the animal life was abundant in the sound. So it was really nice if you have an opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
It's a great way to see the wildlife of Prince William Sound.
And then the other option, Whittier to Valdez, passenger price because it's 6 hours versus one, $63 for an adult. Again, senior discount,
They all apply.
children discount, and that cruise for the RV is $298. So, still a nice
I think
trip.
you're going to pay less than that for the Lulu Bell. But the Lulu Bell is still narrated and targeted and this and that. You're not going to see as much on the ferry, but You'll
Yeah,
see a lot.
you're out in bigger water.
Yep.
Also, if you choose to jump off from Juneau and do some side trips to other small communities in Southeast, I don't know if you saw on our group page, we have a partner that we've partnered up in Gustavus. In Hollywood Farms RV Park, you can take the ferry one way. By the way, all these prices are one way. The ferry, your RV is about $300.
And is that from Juneau?
That's from Juneau.
From Juneau to Gustavus.
Yeah,
$300.
but you can from Juneau. You can pretty much jump off
Almost
to anywhere.
Yeah, Juneau's kind of a hub.
It's the hub
their
of
hub.
Southeast.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So the last one, and I'm gonna just pop this up real quick, and then we'll come back to us, is the solid blue line out in the ocean, and that, folks, is TOTE Maritime.
A big ocean-going ship. I mean,
And
this is a ship.
This
big.
is the fastest way you can get your RV up. Maybe you only have 2 weeks, and you don't have time to take the full week flying, not flying, driving fast up to Canada. But you can put your RV on a cargo ship. And we got to, what do you call it, tour
Yep.
this ship earlier this year, and we're going to have a video coming out very soon on it, more in-depth information. But tote is a great option, northbound or southbound, to get your vehicle to Alaska or back down to Washington. They run between Tacoma and Anchorage twice a week, and a sailing only takes 3 days.
Isn't that amazing? 3 days to get up to Alaska from Tacoma. That's great.
And your vehicles are completely protected from the weather. They're not in a cargo container. They drive them off and drive them on, drive them off.
And a fully weather protected containment area.
It truly is a great service.
Yes.
And tote and RVing to Alaska, we have a great partnership with them, and we've arranged some discounts for you guys. You do have to call and get a quote with them if this is something that interests you. Their quoting system online, you've got to let them know that you're RVing to Alaska member.
Yeah, the online and quoting system doesn't accept that, so you have to call.
And so it isn't, it's not cheap. I mean, truly the cheapest way, least expensive way is driving up, but some people don't have that options.
This takes a lot of time off of your travels.
Yeah,
So
you do have to fly up or fly down and meet your vehicle. Your pets can't travel with the vehicle. They've got to travel with you.
I think the biggest benefit to this is this would allow a traveler to take their time through Canada and then expedite on the way home, or vice versa.
Yes. And when we were talking with them, they really, what do you call it?
They're pushing their southbound.
The southbound.
The southbound.
And when you look at their
transit.
quoting numbers, it is a sizable discount.
It is.
So I'm just going to quickly tell you, again, I use the same scenario, a 30-foot motorhome or a 30-foot standalone travel trailer. This does not include, again, a tow vehicle. It's 30 feet overall length.
30-foot combined length, whatever it may be.
And to go northbound, it's $7,368.
Well, and that does include fuel surcharges that may fluctuate as the season goes on.
Well, that is, the quote is based on current ocean fuel rates as of today.
Correct.
Rates are subject to actual fuel at time of shipment.
Yep.
So that could change.
Yep.
I do know right now fuel is not very economical,
no,
so that definitely could go down. But the southbound, let's compare.
Oh yeah, look at that.
It goes from $7,368. Southbound is $4,417.
Just under $3,000 less.
That's a huge discount
discount.
going southbound. So
So
again,
that allows you to take your time through Canada, going north, and enjoy all the beauty that Canada gives you. And then you stay in Alaska through the end of August into the first part of September, and go down to Anchorage and throw your RV on TOTE Maritime. And then you fly down to Tacoma, and in 3 days, you pick up your RV and continue your travels from there.
Absolutely. You could stay in Anchorage for those 3 days,
Yep.
do a couple tours around the city, and then fly down or go down to Seattle
Right.
and see Seattle.
It may not equal cost wise, mile per mile and miles per gallon and this and that, but that's another 2,500 miles less traveled, the time and the wear and tear on your RV. So, I mean, it's
Well,
kind of a great option.
And like this year, we had some members wanting to look into that because they couldn't use a ferry. There was no
There was no
ferry,
ferry system, yeah.
out of South Central. So it's another option. And we have partnered with TOTE to provide you a break on pricing if that is something you are interested in. Of course, we always say the best thing about RVing to Alaska is Canada.
Right. But if you can't travel through Canada, then you take the TOTE Maritime system and you bypass Canada 100%.
There are ways around it.
Yep.
So now that concludes our 4 routes of getting up here or getting back down to the lower 48.
So what is your favorite route?
Northbound Cassiar.
Yep. So same.
Why don't you talk about it? Why I look for questions.
Well, we head up to north, the Cassiar North, and you're staring at the Rockies all the way up. And I'm drawn to mountains. I'm sorry. It's just one of those things. Maybe that's why I ended up in Alaska, because there are mountains everywhere. But I'm just drawn to the scenery. It is beautiful. The wildlife seems to be more abundant as well on the Cassiar. And I do like how remote that road system is. You get into some really nice little, I'm not going to even call them campgrounds, but just riverside pull-offs and First Nation little areas, villages that are really, really neat. And then there's Boya Lake. Oh, that's something else.
Boy, it's gorgeous.
But by doing that, you miss Liard Hot Springs.
That is a hard one.
If you want to get Liard Hot Springs, you have to stay on the Alcan, and
But honestly,
you need to do it.
Doing Layard in the fall when there's not as many bugs and mosquitoes, and it's a little cooler, that's a good time to visit the hot springs.
Quick fact. So, mosquitoes, they're a thing. But after mid-August, and for sure September,
Once the rain
they're
comes.
about gone.
Yep. So we have a question. Don Reimel. Hi,
Hey,
Don.
hi, Don.
And Neva.
Oh, they're not in Florida now.
No,
they're
they're in Maine. So his question is, are there enough pullouts in May before Victoria Day to be able to stay overnight in a Class A and a towed, considering the provincial parks being closed?
We're just talking about transiting through BC at this point, or Alberta, BC?
I think
So
that's where
early
he's
season.
looking. Early season.
Yeah. Yeah, we had no problem.
We always left either the first or second week of May, and we were usually in central BC by Victoria Day. My best advice, though, is as you come up upon that long weekend, get parked by Thursday
yes.
and plan to stay there for the weekend.
It was amazing to see how crazy busy Canada got on Victoria's Day. Everybody was out and camping, and the campgrounds were full. It's like our Memorial Day, so just know that that's the kickoff to their season, and Canada likes to go play. So be in your preferred spot along that highway, along that holiday, Wednesday or Thursday, and expect to stay at least Sunday, Monday.
Sounds good. Don has one other follow-up question. Actually, I see a couple, but
my gosh,
I'm just
Don.
going down in order of ask. We are hoping that with Starlink, we will at least we will.
I don't have my glasses on, but
I think he's asking, will he have connectivity at least each night with Starlink? Which makes a lack of cellular service a concern.
well, I think with Starlink, the biggest difficulty with Starlink is a campground with tall trees around you.
Absolutely.
The satellite has to be able to see that clear sky to the satellite has to see the clear sky in order to pick up
It needs no
service.
obstructions.
No
I also
obstructions.
know this spring it was still having issues
Right.
in the Yukon, but as the summer has progressed, the service has gotten better, and more people were telling us, especially later in the season, they were having no issues at all in Alaska or
Well,
Canada.
I know the first of 2023, they were focusing on launching a lot more of the Arctic orbit satellites.
Yeah, and this broadcast tonight is coming to you via Starlink. It is getting better and better.
Sponsored.
Not sponsored. It's getting better every single day, every week as more satellites get put into polar orbit.
And now we are working off of the stationary home-based Starlink system, which has priority. If you're on a mobile Starlink system, you're a second priority kind of system, and you may be buffered if the network is busy or something.
Yeah.
So your speeds may not be as big. But now you just did a speed test right before this broadcast. We were over 200
225
on the upload.
on the up and 20 on the
20 some
down.
on the down.
No, the other way.
right.
225 on the down, 25 on the 20 on the up, and prior to switching over to Starlink, our download was like 7, and our up was not even
like
1.
0.5 sometimes.
That's why
So Starlink has done well for us.
I was nervous about doing lives on our DSL service, but with Starlink, we have no problem.
This isn't an advertisement for Starlink, but if you have the ability to acquire a Starlink system for your RV or for your travels, if you work on the road, it's the way to go. It really is.
Yep.
It's a game changer. It's changing everything right now.
Martin Holbrook had just added that in 2009, when they drove the Alcan, people thought it wasn't paved all the way, but it was very nice, and it is. I know in 17 when we first came across from Beaver Creek down to Haynes Junction, actually to Destruction Bay, there was a big portion. Actually, it was from the Alaska border to Beaver Creek.
Right.
There was no
It was
pavement.
tore up. They were working on it.
But there is pavement now. They're always working on it and continually maintaining it.
Frost heaves are a phenomenon that Mother Nature uses to destroy our attempt to create roads within the Arctic regions. It's almost, she can't be beat. So there's maintenance going on, there's construction going on all the time with and if there's a bad area in this year, it's going to get fixed, and it may not be bad next year, but there'll be somewhere else not good. So it's a continual effort to keep the road in repair.
So Don has another question about mileage between fuel stops. And he's saying, should I be able to find diesel within 450 miles between stops? And absolutely.
Either the Alcan or the Cassiar, yes. I believe the furthest distance, isn't it between like Smithers and Dease Lake kind of
No,
thing?
the biggest distance is on the Cassiar. It's between Meziadin and Dease.
Mediasan, that's right.
And it's 206 miles.
Right. If you can't go 206 miles,
Yeah, you should be good. I mean, when we do the Cassiar, we purposely skip Dease Lake because we know we can get in our motorhome from Smithers all the way up to Watson coming in on fumes. But every time we've done it safely and made it.
right? But now, if you take that side trip into Stewart and Hyder, you're probably gonna want to get fuel in Meziadin.
In Meziadin.
Yeah.
Also, by the time you hit the big stretches between services, you're going to know what your fuel consumption range is by that point. I know when we moved up here and I was towing a cargo trailer, we did have to stop and put fuel between Fort Nelson and Watson, just as a safety precaution, because
didn't we also stop at Muncho?
that's when we stopped at Muncho
yeah.
and threw in some
Yeah,
fuel,
yeah.
just because
Yeah.
I was burning extra fuel going over the Rockies.
Well, we may have had a trailer that was a bit overloaded.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
Just a
Anyway,
bit.
and we carried extra fuel with us because we knew.
Yep. And
Is that it for the questions already?
No, I'm still going.
Okay,
People are telling
good,
you
good.
weren't talking very loud.
Am I talking good now?
And they were telling you how to
Oh,
talk in the mic.
mic closer to my mouth.
Yeah. Darwin did mention side trip to Eagle. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And we will talk about Eagle when we actually talk about Alaska in December lives. Basically just kind of trying to, yeah, I should have mentioned Eagle. In fact, I think it was even on my
so
paperwork.
Eagle is a amazing day trip off of the top of the world highway.
Just as you come into Alaska, about
And
20
before
miles in before Chicken, you can turn off to Eagle. However, it's something I don't recommend in a large RV or trailer.
No, not at all.
Drop your RV off, and there's several campgrounds or pullouts, and use your toad to go into Eagle. It's just a very narrow, windy, steep.
Is it 60 miles in? I don't remember. I don't remember the distance.
I don't remember. I'll have that when we get
we'll
into
there.
that talk
We'll
in
get there.
December. Thank you, Darwin.
And there's a lot of those other little side routes. Now that we're not highlighting those right now. That'll come later in the discussion when we have the appropriate time.
I'm laughing. It's Dawn again.
Hi, Don.
We love Dawn. Is there a fuel stop between Whitehurst and Toke? I'm assuming he's saying Toke.
Oh, yeah.
Since there are more than 600 miles apart. Yes, there is a roadhouse in Destruction Bay, as well as Beaver Creek.
Beaver Creek, yes.
Because it is 100 miles or 90 from basically the border into Toke. But you do have some fuel options. In fact, there's a brand new fuel station just inside the U.S. border as well.
Really?
Yeah, it's an old roadhouse that reopened last winter, and so there is now fuel, I believe. This is just coming into my head and memory,
right.
following different businesses
I'm
in
trying
Alaska.
to remember where it is.
It's just inside the U.S. border.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
That's a good one.
So they kind of pride themselves as a trucker for truckers to stop and rest, kind of like gun site.
Okay.
But it's right at the border.
If you need fuel in Beaver Creek, can you make it to that station? Or is it, you said it's 90 miles between?
From Beaver Creek to that gas station, I would assume, because there's 20 miles of no man land between the border and Beaver Creek. And so it's probably 30 miles between the 2 points. I'll have more info on that when we get into Alaska and talk about Alaska.
Good to know.
But that is something new that opened in the last year.
Oh, great. That's good to know.
Let's see if we have any other questions. Looks like Don and Madison are having a nice conversation.
Oh, good. Some great people there. So our moderators, Madison is one of our moderators on the RV2AK page, and he is a wealth of information. If you happen to see his posts on the Facebook page, take the time to read it. He's been up here several times, and he's got some really good information to pass to you.
Yeah, he also has his own Facebook page called Alcan Pruitt, I believe. Madison, you can put in comments if I got that wrong, but I believe it's Alcan Pruitt. And we love Madison's musings and his additional posts.
Yes.
They've been a help.
There should be a whole day dedicated to him. I mean, he really, honestly, he does
Maybe
so well.
one of these lives, we'll get him to come on live with us using our, we have a way to bring other people up, like a Zoom. Rick asks, maybe I should be asking this in another segment, but I'm wondering if I will likely need air conditioning in my RV during the summer months in Alaska. Debating on improving my inverter and generator. So
I wouldn't dedicate a whole bunch of time and money to making your air conditioning system work for Alaska specific.
But once you leave Alaska and you start making your way back south, you're going to run back into summer, where, I mean, in late August in Eastern Washington, it's still going to be over 100. I will say in 2019, we We used our air conditioning. It just depends on the summer. I mean, this year summer never even showed up. So
We were spring to fall.
maybe one day of summer, it truly was a disappointment. But
It generally, the climate is very tolerable, very comfortable. We strive to hit 65 on a good day in the summertime. 70 and 75, especially 75, is getting pretty hot up here.
and 75 really feels like 80, 85.
Yeah.
It's just a different feel, and it's something that's hard to explain until you experience it. But if you'd like to chase 70, Alaska is really good to do that.
And if you do have questions on inverter and power systems, shoot us a message. I might be able to help you out a little bit.
Yep. So that pretty much, I don't see any other, and Madison did confirm it's Alcan Pruitt.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Go
So
ahead,
just a
put
reminder.
that up there for him.
Oh, here,
Is there a link on there?
right there, Alcan
Okay.
Pruitt.
Good.
So
Good.
just a reminder, we have our decals for sale. They are
RV2AK24.
$10 a decal. We have exterior adhesive as well as interior window clings.
Window clings. Those are really nice. The window clings are great. You put them on the inside, and they're not permanently attached to your rig, and you can remove it if you need to. It's great.
Save the date, July 21st through the
yeah.
25th is our rally
time.
next year. That's going to be in Glen Allen. We'll have more information on that coming out in the new year in January as we get everything confirmed, and then tickets will go on sale in March. But just keep that in mind on your calendar as you plan. If you'd like to join us, space will be limited, but it is always a blast to come and meet your fellow RVing to Alaska members. We're also going to do 3 monthly meetups. It's just one night of dinner and drinks, basically, with members around Alaska. We try to break it up and do a different city.
And
each
those
month.
won't be announced until a week or two.
We do it
ahead of time. We
pretty
do it
close.
Pretty close ahead of time.
It's just based on-
who's who and who's where.
Based on what we got going on.
Yep. So it's not a pre-planned thing. It's kind of an impromptu. So
Don't
we'll see
forget
it
about our newsletter. You can
Yep.
sign up on our website. It's under services. And we also have a consulting service new this year. If you would
Amazing.
like personalized one-on-one help, please get in touch with us. We do offer travel consulting to help you with your planning.
I'm looking forward to our consulting time. It'll be great, so we can actually work with you guys and make the trip of your lifetime even better.
Yep. And last but not least, make sure you have joined our Facebook group.
Yes.
That is the meat and potatoes of our business and where we help you. Even though we do these monthly, twice monthly lives, every day we are on our Facebook group. It's RVing to Alaska, the original. And speaking...
with that sticker there, when you see that sticker on an RV, when you're in an RV park in Canada, Alaska, wherever it may be, that's the invitation for
Happy
a
hour?
happy hour, or a socialization, or just to create a community on the road and maybe find some new friends.
Yep.
So if you see somebody with that sticker in the RV park that you're at, walk up to them and say, hello, I know who you are.
So we're going to do this again in about 3 weeks.
Are we taking a break already?
Well, it's the first and third Monday
yep.
of every month.
Yep.
So we will be back in November, on November 6th. That evening, we are going to talk about crossing international borders. So we are going to give you the in and out of everything crossing.
We're going to give you the ins and outs on how to get in.
Into
out.
Canada and out of Canada and into Alaska and out of Alaska.
Yep, exactly.
So, and then November 20th, 2 weeks after that, we are going to deep dive into Canada.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
Until then,
All right.
We'll see you
It's
next
been
time.
a great night.
Yep.
And
cheers to you.
you did better on your drink than I did.
Yeah, I did. Angel's Envy. Amazing bourbon.
All right. Rum and Coke with Kraken. All right. Everyone have a great night. Thanks. And we will see you next
See you
time.
next time.
Bye-bye.